Good. All right. Well. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our all recovery meeting. Uh, Coming to you live, and in a minute, we're going to be showing you a live
Four
video.
and three and two and one. We're live? Are we live? Are we okay? We're live. Hello, everybody. Pej here from Beginnings Treatment Centers and Southwest Counseling and Hightower Associates. Wanted to check in with everybody today. Today's going to be a good live broadcast. We want to talk about staying sober over the holidays. So, a lot of people stress when they're new in sobriety. Some people that actually have been around in sobriety for a while. The holidays can be a very slippery time. It can be emotional. A lot of people have a hard time during the holidays. Personally, like when it comes to the holidays, when I was drinking and using, every day was a holiday. I mean, I was always trying to go out with a bang, so it was always celebratory. But I know that a lot of people that are in treatment, it's sad to say, like, well, see them being in treatment and during the holidays, they have they're not able to go back home to wherever they're from, depending on, they may be from a different state or something like that. So the holidays are hard for them when they're away from their families, but then also sometimes it becomes difficult when they actually are around their families. And I wanted to go over some of the holiday stressors and things that people experience and kind of try and give you a little bit of my own experience and what I've been through during the holidays and what I did to stay sober, especially in early recovery. Now, it doesn't really faze me much anymore. There's a lot of people that get squirrely around the holidays, but some of the stressors that I wanted to go over was, well, first and foremost, holiday parties or just parties in general during the holidays. There's a lot of people that, they will go to, for example, a work party, and they may not be working in treatment or whatnot. So there's alcohol being served or a bar and an open bar. And my recommendation is if you're going to be in that type of environment and you feel like you might get uncomfortable or it might be tempting or triggering to see people drinking, first off, you always have the opportunity to kindly deny an invitation. If you don't want to go because you think you're just not that far in your recovery yet to where you can comfortably go around places where people are drinking, you can always there's a polite way to say no. Basically, you can always just tell the people, without them knowing that you're in recovery, I respectfully, I thank you for inviting me to come to this party, but I don't think that I can make it, and you don't have to go. Now, if you actually want to go because you feel obligated or because you just feel like you're comfortable enough, but you get into that situation where you're there and it feels a certain way, and you see people drinking and all having a good time, and what I would do is go to the bar and ask them for example, a cranberry juice and put a little lime on the side, or some kind of like a non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic drink, of course. And basically, you can just hold that in your hand and nurse it, and just you don't have to drink it fast. If people that way, people don't keep asking like you don't want to drink. You don't have. Here's one thing that happened to me. Like I went to a holiday party early on, and I wasn't holding a drink and everybody was drinking. And I just felt like this total oddball, like sitting there watching everyone drinking and having a good time. And people kept asking me, you don't drink? And I'm like, no, I don't drink. Why don't you drink? Because I'm allergic to alcohol. What, are you sure? Like, what's wrong? Like, it was really hard for me to tell them, like, I'm sober, like I didn't want to say that. And of course I blurted it out anyway. And I said, look, I'm sober. And they said, oh, you're sober. Okay, well, and the next thing you know, everybody's like toasting my sobriety. Like they're all, well, here's the Pej's sobriety. Yeah. And so one of my friends that happened to be at the same party with me, he was new in sobriety too. We both had about a year at the time. And he said, Pej, just go get a cranberry juice and put a lime on the side. That way people don't keep asking you. And, that's what I did. And it's kind of interesting when you aren't drinking and you're not partying, but you are trying to stay sober, to be at a party and watch people and how they progressively will drink throughout the night and how they progressively will change and their state of being alters, and they go from being, kind of a little bit, normal, and then they become a little bit looser, and then before you know it, they're like loosened up, and then by the end of the night you have the belligerent ones, and you have some people that should not be drinking, some people who probably should be getting sober too. It's just kind of fun to observe and to see like how other people drink and how you used to actually probably look when you were drinking. Another thing that the holidays will definitely mess with you in regards to is financial. Financially, you know that you have to get all the shopping done, and you go to the malls and you see like it's just a cluster of people everywhere going in all different directions, and you feel like you can't get anything done, and the stress of that within itself can definitely take a toll on people. So the best thing to do, I think, is probably do your shopping at a time when not a lot of people are there, like a weekday during the daytime, as opposed to Black Friday or the weekends, because the malls are just a madhouse, and you don't have to you don't have to go all out. You don't have to buy everybody everything. It's not your duty. The duty for you in life is just to live a good sober life and to embrace your sobriety, and you don't have to go all crazy during the holidays. And then another thing that can be really hard during the holidays is obviously family conflict. Going to let's say to your family's house for Christmas and seeing people get into it, or see people that they're triggering for you because you've had a past with them, some kind of history, and they may say something to set you off, and just kind of containing yourself, being able to understand that some family members are just the way they are, and you don't have to necessarily like them or dislike them. You just accept them for who they are, and perhaps stay out of their way. If they have some kind of opinion that they want to share with you about you or somebody else, you can always choose not to engage in long conversations with them. You can always separate yourselves from them. Another thing is guilt and shame. The guilt and shame that we endure when we see old family members, perhaps people that we may have affected in our addiction or our alcoholism, to where we hurt them and we affected them, and then now that you see them in a holiday setting and everybody's merry and everybody's happy, but on the inside of your head you're thinking, he hates me, she hates me. I know that he was never really happy with who I was as a person. But remember something, this is your time to really know the reason why you got sober was to better yourself and to clean up where you messed up. And maybe perhaps this is your opportunity to do that. Whether you want to pull them aside, whether you have somebody in the 12-step community that you're working with, and this is your time to make the amends. It's up to you. But I don't personally, I don't feel that as a sober person or people that are in sobriety, we need to live in guilt and shame, because I think in the first place, that's one of the things that took us down that dark road and keeps us down that dark road of addiction. We get stuck in the abyss of addiction because we're so sad and full of turmoil and upset with how life has treated us, or how people have treated us, or certain situations have happened in our lives to where we feel very guilty and ashamed. Especially me personally, where I grew up, there was a lot of shame and guilt just enforced into our familial upbringing. So that's just the way that I thought everything should be. But when I got sober, it was made apparent and clear to me that living guilty and in shame is no way of living in recovery. We want to move forward and work through that guilt and shame and be able to stand with our heads up high and be able to become upstanding people amongst our family members and our friends. I think that during the holidays, having a safe holiday is of great importance. Depending on how you roll in recovery, if you are part of a support group or you don't have one, I suggest that you get a support group, other people that are sober, see how they're staying sober, go to sober functions, go to sober parties, be around people that are staying sober too. See how what I did in early recovery is I gravitated towards the people that were smiling and happy in recovery. And when they would have their parties, they would invite me to their parties, and I would go and think, wow, this is cool. Like all these people are basically doing everything that we did in other parties before, but they're doing it like sober. Like and rather than having spiked eggnog, they're just having eggnog or cider or whatever, the things that we drink and eat, and everybody's actually having a good time. People are engaging. They're not all sloshed and messed up, and we actually remember the next day what happened at the party the night before. That's actually the beauty of living sober and partying and having fun with friends. And the laughs are more genuine. It's not, it's not like we are forced to laugh or we need a substance to make us laugh. Um, okay, so get after it, homie. Thanks, Wendy. Thanks for watching you while I'm on the road. Keep your eyes on the road, Wendy. Okay, but still keep watching me. I love you. So let's see. Okay, I want to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody in regards to the holidays and sobriety and, how do you stay sober? What kind of stressors can you overcome, or what kind of things might happen, or how would I go about it? I remember, and I'm going to just say this straight up. I was about 5 months sober. This was 10 plus years ago. And I was at my mom's house for Thanksgiving, and one of my old using buddies, who actually I used to use at his house quite regularly, I was still staying in touch with him, which was probably not a good idea because he wasn't sober, and he was sending me a message. I think I talked to him on the phone, and he said that he was at his house and he was alone, and that he was really hungry, and that he wished he had some turkey and mashed potatoes. And me, being the codependent friend that I am, I said, I'll be right over. And I remember having my mom put a plate together for me. And I went over to his house. And when I got there, he was so delighted to see me in the front room. And I gave him the food. And I felt like I was helping a friend during the holidays. And boom, it happened. I said, whose voices are those in the garage? And he said, oh, they're in there. Go in there and check it out. And I went in the garage, and there was 2 people in there smoking meth. And I just looked at him, and I thought in that moment, oh my God, I do not belong here. I started sweating. A lot of my mother's face, my sponsor's face, all these different people's faces passed through my thought process. I thought I did not stay sober this long to be able to come and put myself back into the lion's den and to actually be around this. And I was sweating profusely, and it was like a do or die situation. I could either partake and stay there and keep using with them, or I could just get out of there. I did not belong in that place. It was an extremely slippery place, and I never have gone back since then. And actually, later on, when I went back and talked to my rehab counselor about doing that, he, in a group later that day, he told me that, Pej, you're getting cocky in your recovery. This is one of the reasons that I tell you to put your old ideas aside and perhaps change the friends that you have and not keep engaging with them, because they're not on the same path as you. Therefore, you need to just not be in touch with them. And I am happy to say that the guy's house who I did go to ended up getting sober about 4 years later due to health conditions. He almost died, so he got sober too. So he's on the path, which is really good. Are there any questions that have been asked yet? No. So as we keep going along, I do want to talk about a few different things. We have a Facebook page called Ask an Addiction Specialist. You can just type it in, and when you find it, we'd like for you to join the group. You can always ask questions at any given time there. And, we have a professional usually on hand at any given time that could ask the question or can answer it shortly after whatever questions you have about addiction or alcoholism or whatnot. And then we have our beginnings treatment page too. We would like for you to follow it. I've been adding a lot of my friends because I want to get you all involved in knowing in what I'm doing and where I'm working. And we're trying to help a lot of people. I'm doing a lot of interventions. It's really cool. This holiday season, I have been asked to do probably about 6 interventions. I'm actually doing one later on today for somebody who I talked about probably a couple of weeks ago. At this point, the son has had a full-on car accident, and he definitely needs treatment, but he keeps on fighting it tooth and nail. He's been trying to run the show, but luckily his dad called me and said that he crashed the car. He didn't total it and he didn't get injured, but he wants help. which is a plus. So I'm excited to go do that later on today and see how we can help them out. Wendy's asking, how do we address our drunk family members? Do we avoid holidays with them? Okay, so again, going back to what I was saying, how do we address them? We can choose to be around them, and we can also choose to not be around them. So I think that everything should have its own limit. If you absolutely have to be in a party where your drunk family members are at, to each their own. They can drink. Like, it's up to them. The only way that we can ever address them is if they actually get out of hand and want help and they ask us. My philosophy is that's when I can be a vessel in helping them, show them how to get into recovery, however that may be. Often I get asked that. I get people that literally are drunk and tell me, yeah, I admire the way that you stay sober. I need to get sober too. And usually they don't. They just say that. Or sometimes they say, I used to drink really bad, but I'm not so bad right now, as they are totally, completely inebriated in the moment and telling me that, which a lot of people are just in denial. But people drink during the holidays. It's a given. I mean, that's just it. A lot more liquor gets sold. A lot more people are celebrating. I think a lot of people think that they can't have fun without drinking and partaking in drinking during the holidays. And so if they're not in recovery, to each their own. If it's just absolutely unacceptable if somebody's behaving a certain way, or I don't want to be around it anymore, I can always choose to just say, well, this was fun, it's time to go, which I usually do. I don't hang out in a lot of slippery places for too long. For one, because it gets kind of boring after a while. When you've already done all your people watching and you're enjoying just seeing people getting more and more and more under the influence, at a certain point, I just say a cutoff time. I gotta go. I'm out. I say my goodbyes and I say bye. And then there's some people that they're just they're gonna have their fun and they're gonna do their thing, and you just let them do it. So I don't really address them. I kind of just observe. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about that is of great importance, and I would like all of my friends that hear this right now to know about this and share it and put the word out. Austin Armstrong and I are going to be starting a podcast called Sober Grind. Now, we have been on the grind and trying to come up with a plethora of different names for this thing. I think we had dynamic dopes and enlightened dopes and all these different, something that was catchy, but we've come up with the word Sober Grind because definitely we wanted to have the word sober in there so that it pertains to an audience of people who are about sobriety, and we're always on the grind, right? However that may be, trying to stay sober, trying to trudge and walk with purpose, trying to show other people how sobriety is done. This podcast is going to be a slapstick, happy-go-lucky type of podcast. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to have special guests on there, people that are about recovery, are in recovery, people that know about recovery. So it'll be, I think we're going to film. Actually, we're going to be recording it later on today, and I believe next week we're actually going to launch the podcast. So I would like all of my friends out there to know that Sober Grind is going to be growing. The name, let's grow the name. Let's get it out there. I want people to be sharing it everywhere. Tell people about it. And I promise you that we will have some good substance and content that we will be talking about in this podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, right? So we're going to show you another way that people in recovery have a good time and have a lot of fun. Are there any other questions? No more? Okay. Let's see if any people from our studio audience here have any questions at all that they want to ask. Do you like my background screen?
What's your favorite
Okay.
holiday or sober holiday memory?
Favorite sober holiday memory. Okay, so let me think here. I remember I was working at this treatment center a couple of years ago, and it was we had a Christmas party, and it was kind of a trip to me that they were serving alcohol there, because I thought this is a treatment center, like we're supposed to be sober. But the owners, they were normies. One of them was a normie. So what was really fun about that it was at a bowling alley, and we had a lot of food and things like that. And the cool thing is that even though people were drinking, I was still able to engage and have fun and do a lot of bowling. But also, even though I suck at bowling, completely suck, right? But I remember they did like a raffle and a bunch of different raffles. And I remember that some were winning trips and some were winning all kinds of things. But I won a gift basket and a gift card to Trader Joe's. And at the time I worked at Trader Joe's. So I just thought, like, score, right? And I remember I actually had a friend there that I met, and we ended up dating for a while. And we are still dear friends to this day. But it was just cool because I met her in that party. I think another one that stands out to me, if you look at my Facebook, my profile picture, they were taking pictures with Santa, and I remember this one was at Dave & Buster's. It was actually about 2 years ago, and it was another work party. I've worked in a lot of treatment centers and gone to a lot of work Christmas parties, but it was just memorable because I remember there were so many of us and we were having such a good time, and usually, like, they give away prizes and things like that. But what really stood out to me was Santa and his wife. These two were like, I'm telling you, they were like, we were all three cut from the same thread. You could see it in the picture. I'm throwing up the W's and he's throwing up the peace sign, and his wife is just kind of kicking over on the side, posing, and it was jolly. They were jolly. They were having fun. It was truly like one of those moments where I just felt like I'm really having the time of my life at this holiday party, and this is so much fun. So that was good too. I think most of the times I have built and rebuilt my relationships with my family members so much to where whenever I do spend time with them during the holidays, what's really good is that I don't have to keep retreating to the bathroom and going and hiding out and avoiding them, or coming to the dinner late, and I can actually sit with them and look them in the eyes and have good conversations, and we're all laughing from the bottom of our belly. That's really like one of the best things that I love about the holidays, is the fact that I can be a whole human being and be around my family in a sober sense, and be, they just love having their son back. So that means a lot and stands out to me. What else do we got? Anything? All my friends out there, you ain't got no questions to ask me? Come on now. Anybody have any questions they want to get answered? As far as, well, I'll tell you anything I know. Nobody? Do you? How about you, kind sir?
Thinking. Let's see.
What's your experience with holiday events that are put on by places that hold 12-step meetings?
Those are always fun. Like, so there are these, I don't really want to talk about who the people are because they're anonymous, but there's here's the thing. I was a tweaker for a long time. So like I was up late all the time. And then when I got newly sober, I remember that there were times when I was just kind of just on the edge of my seat. Like I was like, what do I do now? What do I do with myself? Like, where do I go? So I would find these marathon meetings, and I would go like at like 11 p.m. and like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And they had these meetings around the clock where I would just go and like be around people. The parties were cool. That was great. Personally, at first, I thought they were kind of lame because I thought, like, how do people party sober and have fun? But it was the meetings, it was the support group. It was the people that they too were just making themselves available. They would come together. There was a lot of camaraderie. There was the fellowshipping. People would dancing. There was a lot of different events that people put on because they're catering to all of our other sober friends, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody's safe during the holidays. New Year's, there's always New Year's parties too, where we all do the same things as anybody else would do in any other New Year's party. Blow the little and put on a little New Year's hat, and everybody's dancing and having fun. Just one thing is taken out of the equation, and that's the substances. It's the alcohol, it's the drugs. And we just don't do that. So you can still be festive and be sober. It's okay. it's okay, really. Like, you already know what happens when you start using and drinking anyway. If you're a hardcore addict alcoholic, you don't drink in moderation. You don't just have a glass of Chablis and say, "Oh, I've had too much." One or two glasses, and you've just gotten started. And then the next thing you know, you're hanging off the chandelier, or you're just like dancing up on tables and acting a fool, or you passing out and blacking out somewhere. But sometimes something that we have to think about during the holidays too is, yes, sometimes we think that we missed that old lifestyle, but really, like, what was really happening in that old lifestyle? Like, we never want to forget our crises. Like, what really happened? Like, what I remember just being at when I was not well. I remember being at some party and somebody gave me some Firewater GHB, and I drank this stuff. I used to sell it, but this time I was drinking this stuff, and this stuff, I'm t- I was sauced, completely sauced. I mean, to the point where I was trying to make out with other girls that had got boyfriends. They were holding each other's hands, and I would walk up and just try to make out with them. My friends kept having to break up fights, and I remember it was like it was a holiday party, right? But a rave, whatever. So I remember just waking up in a gutter somewhere from a blackout. My friends had it with me. They didn't want to have anything to do with me that night. Woke up in a gutter and came to, and I thought, oh my God, like, what? I'm disgusting. I was all dirty and I had like gutter water all over me. So what do I really miss during the holidays when I think like I can't have fun getting loaded? I cannot drink or use like a gentleman. I'm a total slob when it comes to drinking and using, and I have to remember that. I got to remember like where I came from. Uh,
I have a
and
question.
yes, what's the question?
So, how would you handle the situation or the aftermath if
This has happened. It didn't happen at a holiday party per se, but it happened. I was somewhere and I was drinking a water, and somebody that was with me was drinking vodka, and vodka is clear like water. And I remember that somebody went to the bathroom, and then when she came back, um, I went to the restroom, and when I came back, I said, "Is this my water?" And she said, "Yes." And I picked it up and I put it in my mouth, and it went in my mouth, and I tasted the alcohol, and immediately, because I could taste alcohol, obviously, like you taste it, but immediately I just like spit all the alcohol out, and a little bit went down my throat. I'm not gonna lie, that's what happened. Now there's a two. But this is what I think: two-way road. Like, you can either some person, I think somebody who's not really serious about the recovery might have tasted that, and it kind of sets off the beast gets unleashed, for better sake of words, and the person will say, you know what, now that I've already done it, I might as well keep going, and they just keep drinking. You don't have to do that. Like, it's not really a relapse. Like, if it was an accident and it just got in your mouth, or somebody actually spiked the drink and you got it in you, doesn't mean that it's a full-on relapse and that you should just throw your sobriety down the toilet. This is my opinion. If you actually catch yourself and you taste the alcohol and you knew that you did not want that, and that wasn't your intention, it's all about your intention, then you can, it was basically a slip. It was a freebie, like, and
Relapse.
a free lapse, right? For better sake of words. But you didn't relapse, right? You just don't keep doing it. So when that happened to me, I told her, I'm like, I thought you said that was my water. And she goes, oh, whoops, they look the same. And I was just done for the night, right? And I called my mentor the next day, the person who I look up to in recovery. I told him what had happened, and he said, "Did you keep drinking?" And I said, "No, I did not." And he said, "You're okay. Don't worry. Just don't do it again, and be careful hanging out in slippery places." So I love that question, truly. And I remember I worked at Trader Joe's during that time too, and during the holidays they were making like rum cake and all these different things, and I took a bite out of like some rum cake. I was like really serious about my recovery, and I remember tasting like the rum on my tongue, and I'm like, I can't have this. And somebody's like, Pej, like the rum gets cooked into it. I'm like, but some of the people's philosophy in recovery is that we don't keep anything around with alcohol in it, whether it be mouthwash or what. Like, drink or
Oh, Lord.
swinging THC from something. to
What
take.
did I